He's driving the 935 Porsche school car, the one that was in all the Camel ads at the time. It was a brown one.
Whoa.
And I proceeded to go for 12 laps.
Death
laps? At Road Atlanta in a makeshift seat, holding the bar with my left hand. He says, don't let go of that bar because you'll be in his lap.
You'll end up in his lap.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So we went about 6 laps, and we get it. A big red light comes on the dashboard, and I'm going like, what's that? He goes like this, and he bangs on my helmet, and he goes, and I go like, I don't know what to do. This must be broken. So they were going during the lunch break or whatever, and there was a whole group of course workers in a Chevy Love truck going 15 miles an hour down the back straight when we passed them. I'm figuring he went around 195 down the back straight.
What was the red light?
The red light was out of gas.
Hey, welcome to Car Guy Confessions, brought to you by ARP. I'm Jeff Smith. This is my car buddy Cam Benty and car builder Steve Strope, and we're going to tell you some stories. So we thought we'd start off with a little tech tip from ARP. This is actually stuff that I ran into and didn't understand what was going on, and then came over here to the guys at ARP and said, hey, could you help us out with this because something hinky is going on. We're on the dyno out at West Tech, and we're swapping cylinder heads on an LS motor, and I'm on one side of the engine. My buddy Steve Roulet is on the other, and we're both torquing the head studs down, and he gets to, the torque is, let's say it's 65 foot-pounds, and he gets to about 50, and he goes, this feels hinky. There's something not right here.
Describe hinky. Yeah.
Well, hinky is you're pulling on it, and there's resistance, and all of a sudden the resistance not completely, but instead of going like this, it flattens out.
So you're almost stripping.
Yeah, well, it feels just like you're stripping the threads, right? I said, Just stop. He goes, we're probably close. We'll be okay. We got this one pull, then we'll figure it out. So, and I came over to my side with a torque wrench. Same thing happened on a couple of head studs. So it's like, okay, there's something not right here, but we can get past this just to get this test done, and then I'll come figure it out. So I came out here and talked to Chris Raschke, and I said,
Who works at ARP,
yeah. And I said, this is what's going on. He goes, come with me. And what he showed me was an LS GMLS head, a Coyote head, and a Gen 3 Hemi head. So all the late model engines. And what they do is their spot facing on the cylinder heads is extremely good compared to like an old cast iron small block Chevy that looks like.
Talking about the recess where the head bolt is.
Where the head bolt is, and there's a spot facing around that, and that's where the washer goes, and then either the head bolt or the head stud.
And it's extremely smooth,
and it's
with new
ridiculously
machining
smooth.
properties.
So. So this is where
I did.
Okay.
That's very good. So this is where the engineers step in and say, "Oh, well, you have a tolerance stack-up situation," and that's exactly what happens. So
I have
we have
that often. Again, burritos over in Ventura.
Right.
or fur balls,
Hairballs.
Hairballs.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's right.
So
You learn a lot here, kids. Really.
There's all kinds of information here. So what happens is, essentially, what's going on is because the ARP washers are so smooth with a smooth spot face on the cylinder head, the washer becomes like a bearing. And when that happens, now, because roughly 50% of the overall torque that's necessary to tighten the fastener is in the friction area, either underneath the head of the bolt or between the nut and the washer. So what you need is a fixed washer that doesn't move, and then that torque is taken up with this stuff.
Right. How do you get there?
They measure.
What do you do?
So, well,
Okay.
get
Show
to
me.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is how we're going to get there. So the problem was that the washer was spinning because the surface was so smooth. So Chris just said, all you got to do is lay out a piece of 60 grit sandpaper, take your washer, the bottom side of the washer, scrub it about 3 times, get a nice rough surface on it, and then stick it back and make sure the surface on the cylinder head is clean, right, with no oil.
Sure.
Because you don't, now in the old days, we used to put oil on both sides of the washer and torque it down. But because the surfaces were so rough, you could get away with that. But now you can't. So the bottom side of your washer needs to be dry. Stick it on there, and then put your lube between if it's a head bolt, it would be between the head of the bolt and the washer, or if it's a stud, between the washer and the nut on the stud, and then of course lube on the threads, and then go ahead and set your torque, and it'll work every single time. So this particular engine, we had 3 or 4 studs that were giving us problems. Took it apart, I cleaned all the washers, sanded them, put it back on, and they all went directly to torque.
Nice.
So if you feel that, where all of a sudden it plateaus out, there's something wrong. Stop. Don't keep going, because what happens is if you keep going, it rips the threads right out of the block,
Right.
or it overstretches the fastener, or other maladies. So the point is, something doesn't feel right, back off and figure out what's going on. So that's just a simple little
that's
tech
good.
tip. We ran into it, and it doesn't happen on the older engines, so because again the machining's not as good. But on the late model engines, you'll see it all the time, and if you're not paying attention, you can get burned. So there you go.
There you
So
go.
take the bass. That's the whole bass.
And put it in the microwave.
I once fixed a.
No, that's a Saturday Night Live. The Bassomatic.
The
That's
Bassomatic.
it.
That's
Absolutely.
that's the whole bass.
That's great bass.
That's terrific bass.
Yes.
The Super Bassomatic 76, 76, 76. Super Bassomatic 76.
Was it 76 or 2000?
No, 76, because that's the year that this came out.
The greatest skit right
Way
now.
too
Right
much.
after you're done watching us, just go look up Bassomatic.
So I got this mini rant, just a mini rant.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Mini rant?
Right.
Rant.
Rant.
With a T.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you work
So
your jaw
I'm
like
reading a
that?
magazine,
60 grit sand.
a somewhat well-known West Coast publication, in which the tech question comes into the tech writer and says, I want to build a 1,000 horsepower Coyote. And the writer dutifully goes through the process and shows him, this is how you're going to do it. This is what you need. This is all the pieces. Here's the guy to go to.
Right.
He can build you this motor, $25,000 engine. He can build you a 1,000 horsepower Coyote.
Sure.
That's only half the story. Now you need intercoolers, you need this, and you need this and this. And I'm reading the story, and I thought, wait a minute. Let's back the bus up a little bit and
Sure.
start at the beginning. If the guy is asking the question, where am I going to find a guy to build me a 1,000 horsepower Coyote to put in I think it was like a 94 Mustang Fox
Okay.
body.
Okay.
It's like, well, the first thing that's going to happen is if you ever hook this up, it's going to twist that
You're
Fox
break the
body
car
like
in half.
Like a,
those-
it
get
won't
those
be a pretzel,
225
but pretzels are
tires
too
hooked
brittle.
Taffy.
Yeah.
Taffy.
Yeah.
So, but beyond that, he backed the bus up even more. It's like, the problem with that is that where are you going to use this? So the question should have been, well, before we get to how you're going to build 1,000 horsepower, what we should really talk about is, why do you think you need it? Because we were just talking earlier off camera about cars that are brutally fast, right? And they're almost dangerous because they're hard to drive because they have such a great power to weight ratio. I have a 550 horsepower Chevelle
Right.
that's set up for a road race car. It scares me to death. When
Right.
I drive it hard
You
on
bet.
like at Willow,
You bet.
because you're hanging it out and you're thinking, this is my car. If I wad this thing up, this is not good.
Right.
And it's only 500 horsepower. If you at 800 horsepower or 900 or 1,000, it's really hard to drive, ridiculously hard to drive.
bet.
And people don't understand that because they're used to driving 250 horsepower and they think that's fast. And on a road course, it is. It's still fast
well,
you know,
we're-
from a speed
Right.
standpoint.
Well, we're at fault. Let's
I-
be
well,
serious.
That's true.
I
We
will
are.
maintain that hot rodding is always a bunch of people who really weren't making
Yes.
a lot of common sense back in the beginning.
That's true.
It's
Let's take.
you know what?
Let's do wretched excess
Can I-
and then
That's right.
and then expand on that.
Yeah,
thought you were-
into my
So-
yeah.
aforementioned another episode of putting nitrous on a lawnmower.
Yes. There we go.
Right.
So why was that needed? That
Yeah,
was
it
not
was
needed.
not-
It
It
was
wasn't
John
needed.
Deere's
needed.
fault.
Or,
There you go.
or like a friend of mine who was in his younger days, the pre-engineering days when he was a young kid. I just heard this story. It's a great story about his dad's in the front lawn and the kid drives by making laps in his go-kart, and he makes about the third lap on and then pulls the chute that he had created his parachute off his
Perfect.
go-kart just to see if it would work. It's like, yeah, why do you need that? You don't.
No,
But
it was needed.
it
and
was
you know
needed.
why it was needed.
Oh, well, because
That's
it's
right.
cool.
So-
Because it's
Absolutely.
cool.
It's
Well, here's
cool.
the,
So-
here's where I'm saying it's our fault as
Yes.
magazine guys.
Yes.
How many times have we said build 700, 800, 900 horsepower?
And the number
out
keeps
of-
going up.
That's right. And when you said a thousand horsepower Coyote,
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say it had to do something with the Audubon Society, but that's not anything. We're not getting into that right now. But anyway, the bottom line is that we built that deal with regards to these
Yes.
engines having
in
this
the other
crazy
end of
amount of
America,
horsepower.
if he wants to do
400,
that,
you know,
Yes, it is.
500 is
Right.
what 400 used to be, and
Yes,
now it's
yes.
now it seems like
And
people
it's-
need
Oh, 1,000's
need
the new
1,000.
750.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And it's power to weight. That's the
And
other thing that goes
that's
on
the thing,
too.
but
you know?
1,000 horsepower, it's like it's ridiculously
Yes.
hard to drive.
Well, and look at you have the situation with the Hellcats and the Demons and the
Right.
Red Eyes.
That's 700,
these
800
things all
horsepower.
have 700-800 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, if the car weren't so damn heavy, then there'd be a lot more death. Honestly,
it'd be, well, it'd be
But the-
fast. It'd be really fast. Then.
But the fact of the matter is, the car is very heavy. It's
Yeah,
already
over
40.
4,000.
It's like 45.
Yeah,
45, and
yeah.
put a fat Mopar guy in there, and you're in trouble.
Wow.
You're in big
Okay,
damn
so-
trouble.
Stealth Mopar guy.
No, there are none.
I send your hate mail to Cam Benty
That's right.
and
Dot-
leave me the hell out of it. I think
There
you're
are no
and
thin
beautiful.
Mopar guys. It's like they all have and I resemble that. I resemble that remark
He's digging a rabbit hole even further.
Exactly. I resemble that remark because I've
Not
had
only are
a
you
bunch of
fat,
Mopars and I love them. I love Mopars. I do enjoy Mopars. But you know what, guys,
Except for the
go on a
degenerates
diet.
that own them.
go on a diet.
That's nice.
Stop. Push away the
part of
burritos.
part of this could be too.
Oh, there's
that-
plenty of LS guys that are pumping 2,000 horsepower. Oh, we can do it because why
That's
not?
right. That's right.
It's never enough, and I get it. And maybe part of it is because I'm getting old and a bit more
Yes.
Wow,
conservative.
and some
Yes.
truth
But
comes
it's
into
like,
the podcast.
Right.
Out there pushing 1,000 horsepower. It's like yikes.
Yes.
I mean, I got a 550 horsepower car runs 1080s. That's
oh,
a
it's
good
fine.
ride,
Let the
you know?
kids have fun.
Right, that's right.
I know.
Well, I had a
So-
67 Corvette that I put together, 427. Did a bunch of little modifications to it, and the deal was to make it cosmetically still look like a 67 Roadster, and it was all matching numbers and all this stuff. Every hose clamp was dated and all this stuff. It was stupid. It was completely stupid, and that's
Dated hose clamp.
Got
that's
some
not
free time.
that's not fake. That's real. I hate to say that.
There are
That's
there
not
are hose
fake.
clamps with date codes on them.
All the Corvette stuff. If you were an
Really?
NCRS guy, you know that. That's the
Really?
deal. You
Going
know
for
what
your
I'm saying?
Bloomington Gold.
Anyway, so
I'm sort of
but I still
Bloomington
had
brown.
Yeah, whatever.
That's right. But I still had
More of a
215
Puce.
tires on it. It would not take anything bigger than a 215
Right, yeah, they're
tire
tiny, yeah.
because the fender wheel comes down and
Right.
and then it goes up and it goes in.
Yeah.
And if you cut them, you're kind of screwing up your
yeah.
car.
Oh,
so
yeah.
anyway,
I'll cut
traction patch, tire patch, not good, not good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
600 horsepower, good time.
Huh?
It's like Troy's car, in your shop where he's got the little space savers and he's got a Hemi motor. It's like
Yes.
perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, and his Hemi Dart?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's how he did his. I have an employee who knows all Mopar, and he
Right.
has a clone, an extremely accurate clone
Yes.
of a Hemi Dart, how it was delivered to the racer by Hearst. So it's in primer with gel
Yep.
coat on the fiberglass fenders, and they delivered it on
Space
spare
savers.
tires, space
Yeah,
savers.
right.
Because why? The guy at the race, the guy they're delivering it to is going to put his slicks and everything else.
Yeah,
on
they're
it.
gone in 10
So
seconds. Yeah.
he drives his cross ram or max wedge, or it's a max wedge, or
No, it's a
cross ram.
Hemi.
Cross ram. Yeah, it's a Hemi, but it's a cross ram.
Okay. Yeah.
And that thing's well tuned,
Oh yeah.
and he drives it on these tires, and it's like it's goofy. I mean,
Yeah.
the tires are just.
I don't think
merciless.
that car weighs 2,700 pounds.
Yeah, it weighs nothing.
Yeah.
And
Even with the
it's-
Hemi in it.
Ludicrous speed.
Oh, it does.
it's-
But
it's-
the
it's
tires
a-
are worthless.
Yeah.
But it's accurate.
Yeah. He's a thin Mopar guy though.
Yes, he is,
It's
and
a-
well dressed and
very
groomed.
nice.
We are going to get Molotov cocktails coming through the goddamn window any minute now. Take this, you hater!
I was born in Highland Park, Michigan.
Oh, that's
I got a trim tag.
good. I got a trim
You
tag.
have a VIN tag?
I do. Yeah. VIN tag. Yes, of course. Trim tag.
So we'd like to thank our sponsor, Automotive Touch-Up. I've actually used this stuff on many occasions. We built a little 64 El Camino. We actually painted the interior, the dash on it, on a steel dash. It worked out really well. It's a two-part deal, and it works very well both as touch-up and or as small parts that you want to paint yourself.
And I can attest to, if you follow directions and do it right, I had my first 3 magazine feature cars, one of which was a top 10 car and a cover car. Tons of parts were done with rattle can because I didn't have the money or the connections to have it fancy painted with a real paint gun. So I've used rattle can paint to build full feature cars. So get to work.
Yeah, and I use it for rock chips when you're driving cars. Obviously, they get stone chips and such, and those they make a perfect match. I mean, what you do is you go online, you put in your information about your car, and they will match exactly your paint code, which is very cool. So you're not kind of guessing. You are getting exactly what you asked for. Yeah, right.
So check them out at automotivetouchup.com. Yeah.
What's our topic of today? What's my motivation?
What would you like to do? What would
I
you
don't
like
know.
to do?
Yeah,
How about famous people you have encountered or worked with or just kind of know?
I
You've
got a
some
bunch
cool
of
guys.
that.
I know. You got a ton of them. It's a gallery if there ever was
You
one.
know what? You know what? I will shy away from the TV, movie, celebrity stuff. I got a real good story, and both of you guys know the gentleman. We built a car called the Martini Mustang, and we had it unveiled actually in ARP's booth at SEMA, and it won the Ford Design Award, car of the show, and it has a really, really neat motor in it. It's got the Ford Lotus 4-cam IndyCar motor, the same one that was in Jimmy Clark's car.
Right.
And Ed Pink himself helped redesign himself, whatever, the self of him.
Yeah.
Pick grind to the cam so it would work on the street, and we converted it, or they converted it to EFI. So when the car was done, I am throwing shifts in an IndyCar motor on the street, which is more fun than you think it is. Yeah.
And what kind of RPM?
Any.
Pick one.
Pick an RPM.
8,000?
4,000.
It'd go to 8. Oh, it went to 8 easy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're hanging out in the booth, and over walks Ed Inskidarian. And I had briefly met Ed Inskidarian up in Ventura. They're the only place that has a sprint car track on the ocean. It's sitting there right next to the water, and you go up there, and I'm sitting there minding my P's and Q's, and walking up towards me is Ed Inskidarian and his buddy pal Arias. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
You know, and they sit in front of me.
This is royalty.
That's royalty,
This is
no
royalty.
doubt. And I wind up talking to them. I introduce myself, and they could care less. And until I offer beer.
Yeah. Oh, well then.
And then I mattered.
Your new best friend.
I said, oh, it's dumb kid behind us. Beer.
Wants to buy us beer.
So he came over to the Martini Mustang, and it was after hours, after the show floor had shut down, because nobody hangs around later. And he came over and started. I mean, he's really the Cam Father. I mean, that was his nickname. But
He is
I mean,
the Cam
he's
Father.
he's been doing this since they were called Gow jobs.
Yeah. He's
You
like
know?
100 years old, is he not? Like
all but.
No. Yeah. Is he? Is he
Yeah.
100 years old?
Yeah.
So he proceeded to tell us stories about the nuts and bolts inside of that motor, and how he was involved with this and that happened. Yeah, just it's like unbelievable background in history. And he was talking about, after the war, and then this person created that company, and then Ford needed it for this and that. And you're like, holy crap. It's just amazing, fascinating guy.
Wow.
Who also really impressed me because obviously has more knowledge than all of us put together there in the group, and was constantly, he's very inquisitive. He loves to know and to learn.
Sure.
And was asking us questions upon questions, and how did and why did and what about. So I found that really fascinating, that he was very involved in the conversation, and it was a very two-way street. It just wasn't telling us this. I mean, some phenomenal stories of history.
Sure. Imagine the stories.
But then he wanted to learn and wanted to know, how did you set
That's
this
awesome.
up for?
Yeah.
So it was very cool.
The Cam Father.
The Cam Father.
The Cam
what
Father.
a great individual. What a great guy.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. Yeah, I met him years ago and went to lunch with him, and it's an experience when you watch him put out his cigar in your water glass and put it in his sock. That literally is what he did in front of us. It's like, yeah, bring it on. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it still has his original hot rod that was on the cover of Hot Rod Magazine.
Yeah.
He might still have this.
has
He
it.
might still have the same cigar.
Awkward. Ugh.
But
I don't think you're
Aromatic.
supposed to put
yes,
it there.
Aromatic.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I got another automotive guy that I had a chance to experience early on in my career. I was again at Hot Rod long time ago, and I had been sent out to Pittsburgh to go meet with Don Yanko.
Oh.
Don Yanko, and the
that's cool.
Chevrolets. Don Yanko,
Yankee
very
Chevrolet, Camaro.
legendary race car guy.
Well,
Built-
Camaros, Novas.
Stinger
Stingers,
Corvair. Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely. And I got actually a chance to go through some of his archive. Of course, I had a brand new original picture, and I showed it to Reggie Jackson at one point, and he goes, "Thank you." And I was like sitting there. I was like, I think I was 23. I was like,
Did he just take my
He
picture?
took my picture. I don't have my picture. Anyway, I go back and I see. That's right. It's gone. So I fly out. I meet Don, and we go through the whole deal of he's making an '81 Camaro with a turbocharger on it that's terrible. Anyway, so he was building these cars, kind of going back with the legacy of the Yenko Camaros.
Mm-hmm.
And so he even brought a '69 Yenko out there, and we did this whole photo shoot. I went to dinner with he and his wife. His wife had to be 40 years younger than him. It was very funny. She was completely draped in jewels and the whole bit. So anyway, so we go to dinner downtown Pittsburgh, which I realized was actually a very nice resurging. It was a nice city that had been redone. Yeah. So anyway, I go back to the place. I'm ready to go get on a plane and go home. And he goes, "You want to go to Road Atlanta?" And I said, "Yeah."
Sure.
So I called up Lenny. I called up Leonard Emanuelson, and he said, "Yeah, sure, go." So we flew in Don's plane, the one he actually ultimately died in.
Ooh.
You know, and he was an awesome pilot. He was a really good pilot. They did all their flight plans and the whole bit. So we stop at the Atlanta International Airport, and he picks up his girlfriend, and she gets in, and then we flew to Gainesville. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you just slide that in there?
Yeah.
I like that. That was
so
nicely slid in there.
That's right.
Full of characters.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
and it's been the first time I'd been in a private plane to fly that far, twin engine. I don't know what kind of plane it was, but it was fun. I really enjoyed it. So we fly to Atlanta, and now it's probably about 10 o'clock at night. We fly into Gainesville. Now we're in Gainesville, Georgia, and we land. And what I remember about that airport in Gainesville was there was the most beautiful P-51 Mustang, all in camo, that I'd ever seen in my entire life. And it was right next to the Bayside Disposal. This is going back a few years, and the Bayside Disposal Porsche truck that was over there. And so there's a rental car, and Don proceeds to try and wreck the rental car the entire way back into Gainesville. I mean, literally, he's doing the, reverse, and there's like 7 guys in the car. We're all sitting there going, and the girl. And we're all like wondering when we're going to be walking. So anyway, so he drops us off. We drop our stuff off at the hotel, and he says, "Well, I'll drive you guys to the Pizza Hut." So we go to Pizza Hut. Now it's 11 o'clock at night. It's, I don't know where I am, pretty much. So we have pizza, and
Sounds
at that
like
point,
you're in a B movie.
yeah. Oh my God.
Juncture.
So at that point, we end up trying to call through the payphone, because there were no cell phones, trying to get Don on the phone to come pick us up at the Pizza Hut. Yeah. Good luck. So Don is busy. So we ended up walking. We ended up walking through a graveyard at midnight to get back to the hotel. So we get back to nobody came out. So there's nothing related to the graveyard other than the fact that I said, I was like, I got to say that's the first time I'd walk through a graveyard at midnight. But anyway, so we get back to the hotel. Don still doesn't respond. So we go and we sack out. And the following morning at about 8 o'clock, he's honking the horn, and we go get in the car, and we're going to go over to Road Atlanta, which had been recently purchased by the Whittingtons. Okay. Of
IMSA fame.
Of IMSA and drug related fame.
Yes.
So anyway.
Yes. Of dubious.
Yes. And they were the ones
Let's look at our
scorecard.
scorecard.
Yes.
We've got the mistress. We've got graveyards at midnight.
Destroyed rental cars.
That's right.
We've got
all
Bayside
and by the
Disposal.
way, one story,
Yeah.
which is really fantastic.
I'm not done.
Now we've
I'm not
got
done.
drug lords.
It gets better. It gets better. So
moving along quite
so
fine.
we go over.
And you don't
to
have
the,
to pay to listen to any
No,
of this.
That's right.
Huh? How's that?
And I get into a conversation. My part was very small, with Vince Piggins, Grumpy Jenkins.
So we should define who these guys are.
These are
So-
all.
but yeah, go ahead.
So Vince Piggins was head of Chevrolet
Product promotion. He was involved with the Z28.
He was a Z28
the creation
guy.
of the
Right.
Z28. Worked
right.
with Smokey Unick in the earlier days, stock car racing, that kind of stuff. And
right.
Yeah.
And Grumpy Jenkins, legendary pro
drag
stock
racer.
guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even before that, super stocks, the Chevy 2s.
Yes. Yep. But they're all at a road course, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of other race car guys that I cannot remember, road course guys. So I see Don, and Don is driving a Citation X11 that Chevrolet made him drive.
Little front-wheel drive.
Front-wheel drive,
Thing.
brand new deal. It was really not a great car at all, but he drove it, and he was doing his Chevrolet deal.
Mm-hmm.
So then he says, "You want to go for a ride around the track?" And I said, "Sure." And I grabbed the door of the Citation. He goes, "No, I got a better ride for you." So he goes over to the Whittingtons, and he gets them. He gets Dale Whittington, who is the third brother that nobody has heard of because he's the younger guy. He's driving the 935 Porsche school car, the one that was in all the Camel ads at the time. It was a brown one.
Whoa.
And I proceeded to go for 12 laps.
Death
Road,
laps.
at Road Atlanta in a makeshift seat, holding the bar with my left hand. He says, "Don't let go of that bar because you'll be in his lap."
You'll end up in his lap. Yeah, exactly.
So we went about 6 laps, and we get it. A big red light comes on the dashboard, and I'm going like, "What's that?" He goes like this, and he bangs on my helmet, and he goes, and I go like, "I don't know what to do. This must be broken." So he pulls in, and it literally was a pit stop. He pulls in, and the guys gas up, change the tires, a whole bit. We didn't move. And then he gets in, and I'm figuring he went around 195 down the back straight.
What was the red light?
The red light was out of gas.
Okay.
So out of gas, got to come back into the deal. But we went by. You're talking about closing speed. They owned the track at that time, so they were going during the lunch break or whatever.
Okay.
And there was a whole group of course workers in a Chevy Love truck going 15 miles an hour down the back straight when we passed them.
And when you passed, did the truck go about 3 times?
Should have done that. I was expecting all the brooms to suck them out. But I got to tell you, that was a crazy deal. But it was a really fun time to hang out with Don.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I wrote a story about it called Weekend at Yenko's.
That's supposed to be Weekend at Bernie's.
Yes, that's it. There you go. So that was quite the deal.
Yeah. My story's not nearly that good. Okay. So sorry, but
Well, I'm waiting for it, though.
when you mentioned royalty or people that we really look up to, when I started in this industry, I was writing tech stuff for Carcraft magazine, and I didn't know that much, so I really need a lot of help. And Jim McFarland was was VP of research and development at Edelbrock at the time. And somebody said, well, Jim McFarland could probably have that question for you. So I called him up, asked him a few questions, and what evolved out of that was what I ended up calling the Edelbrock Friday Afternoon Club. So he said, just save up your questions, write them on a sheet of paper, and bring them over to the shop, and come down here at about 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and we'll go over them. And his dad was an instructor, I think UT, possibly University of Texas. He's from Texas originally. Yeah, he is. And so, he had that same gene for teaching, and he really enjoyed doing it. And I was a willing student, so literally I would go down there, and I'd have my legal notepad, with 10 questions on it. We never get past the first one. And initially what he would do is he would say, well, before I answer this question, I need to know where you're at, where you at in terms of how much you know. So he was asking me questions and then saying, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I was like, okay, I'm trying to answer these questions. And then eventually he would move into the top question that I had. We never got past the first one. I did this for months and months. I think my first wife thought I was having an affair because every Friday night, because sometimes we wouldn't leave there till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I'd get there at 3. We'd be there for 5 or 6 hours. And this went on for months. And after a while, I could start to pick out this connects to this. And he would go, yes. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And so I've tried to do that with other people. And that's kind of what I do with my tech stories, is to always say, well, before we answer your question, we have to set the tone. We have to set what's going on here, and so that I can bring everybody along kind of evenly along. And hopefully you don't get lost, because it's no fun when halfway through you realize I don't know what he's talking about. I'm lost. I got to go back to the beginning. So I try and keep it simple, and because that's what he did with me. And so Jim is still out there. If you're reading this, Jim, it's all because of you. And
awesome guy.
A super guy. Just
he meant to say listening, not reading.
Yeah. But because he spent an enormous amount of time with me, and that's, you don't do that. Right. So essentially he became my mentor. And
Me
and
too.
so and I think it wasn't just us. It was probably a whole. I mean, God knows how many people he probably helped over the years. And then he's involved with SEMA and all these other things. So all of that, oftentimes, most of it, almost all of it, probably flew under the radar. Nobody knows that, And
Right.
he was the editor of Hot Rod. I got a great Hot Rod story. When John Diana picked me to become the editor of Hot Rod magazine.
Let me hear it. Why don't you tell it?
And I'll follow along.
Why don't you tell it?
Real
That's
quick.
right.
So, and so Johnny makes me the editor of Hot Rod, and he
Right.
says, "Oh, by the way, you've got exactly about a month to figure out how you're going to do the 40th anniversary issue." It was like,
Surprise.
pull the knife out.
That's when you did that machined cover, right? Wasn't there?
We did a billet Hot Rod logo
Right.
for the 40th thing, and then
remember.
and we lit it, and it looked like corduroy. We call it the corduroy cover. But on the inside, the lead page, I wanted to have something really special, right? And I remembered this photograph of Pete Peterson taking a picture of a car at the dry lakes, a hot rod going by
Right.
the dry
Famous
lakes.
pho- famous
with his
photo.
speed
Famous
graphic
photo.
camera and the rolled up jeans
bet.
and the
Yep.
Hot Rod magazine embroidered on the back of his shirt. And I thought, how perfect this is. So I sent that photo off to David Kimball. And David Kimball's wife does colorization, so she colorized it.
Nice.
Yeah. Because I was talking to him one day, and he goes, "Well, my wife does colorizations of black and white photographs. This would be perfect."
Yeah.
So I got this all done. I was so proud of myself. I got it back, and we wrote this intro and everything. And then I happened to think, I said, Jim McFarland was the editor of Hot Rod in 1968 for the 20th anniversary of Hot Rod. I wonder what he did. He did that. So I opened the 68 up, and I went,
Great
"Oh,
minds.
no."
Great mind.
Now
Great
he
minds
thinks
think alike,
I ripped him off, right?
Right.
And so I immediately called him and said, "I apologize." He goes, "For what?" And I said, "Well, I just opened up the 68 Hot Rod. I just did the same thing. I
Okay.
didn't know." And he starts laughing. He really got a kick out of that. So
What was your first magazine, automotive magazine that you read, and do you remember a specific issue?
that's easy.
Yeah.
That was 68 Carcraft.
Yeah.
It was a Terry Cook story it was a series called How to Build a Junior Stock.
There you
And
go.
it was a 57 Chevy sedan delivery wagon
Yeah.
that Terry Cook was doing the story on. And I don't know why that happened, but it was like I started reading the story and it was like he's talking to me.
Right.
He's talking to me. And I know somebody with a 57. I could buy that car and do this. And I could go stock eliminator racing. How neat. I was 14. My grandfather went, "No, you're not doing that. You're not buying a car at 14 because you're not leaving it
Right.
here at my gas station. That's not going to happen."
Yeah.
But yeah, it made this huge impact on me.
I bet.
And later, when Rick Vogelin hired me as Carcraft editor,
Oh, don't
I
rub it in.
learned
Don't rub it in.
I learned that exact same story did the exact same thing to him.
There you go.
And I mentioned it to Terry Cook long after that. He goes, "Yeah, I've heard that story before," and he didn't seem to really care. And I was like, "Dude, you changed my life," and you hear that and you think, it doesn't really change your life, but it did. It absolutely. It just took my.
You bet.
And that's what I want to
bet.
do. I want to do this.
I'm sure Steve's got a couple of interesting first magazines, first automotive magazines.
The first wasn't a magazine. It was my uncle and cousin that always tinkered with stuff. They didn't build hot rods. Actually, it's kind of split. My cousin had a Camaro that there were two cars that impacted me when I was really young. And one was my cousin's black, it's probably a early to mid 70s. I do not know the year, Camaro. And being in upstate New York, you only got a couple of months. So the rest of the time, the car had just Steelies on it with snow tires.
Mm-hmm.
But in the summer, it had the Krager SS's with the Indy SS profile and hijacker shocks,
Jacked up in the back.
Lakewood traction bars, and Hooker side pipes. And it was the coolest.
What year was this?
Early
Well, if it was early 70s
Yeah.
car, then it would have been
Yeah,
early,
yeah,
it
because I
relatively
was born in 68, so this was probably 74, 75, 70. I was young.
So you were.
And I would stare at that, and then out back, because the car was a 4-speed car,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a 4-speed transmission around out back of it. My uncle had parts and pieces of stuff all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
He had a workshop garage in the back.
Uh-huh.
And so the first piece of print that fascinated me that was laying around was the J.C. Whitney.
Oh yeah.
With that, you
Oh,
could buy
yeah.
the side pipes and the mud
Right,
flaps and the
right.
chrome this and that, and I'd be like looking at
And
them
you could
going,
also buy Blinky the Cat.
You could. And oddly enough, I know what Blinky the Cat is.
Yeah, but we should explain Blinky the Cat. So it's this model of a cat, furry cat, you put on your back package tray, and it faced backwards, and the left turn signal would be because it's going backwards. This one eye.
I need to find one of these.
Blinky the Cat. I wanted to do a story for CarCraft.
Oh my God!
On every cheesy part in the J.C. Whitney catalog,
right.
and then buy them, and then do something on it. It would have been so good, and it just would never.
I
happen.
did a story about all the stuff at the car wash that you could use to improve your vehicle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Air freshener.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you know where J.C. Whitney, the real company, was named?
What?
Warshawski.
Really?
Yes. There were actually, you could get 2 catalogs. You get a Warshawski catalog, and then they realized that maybe that sounded a little bit too ethnic, so they came up with J.C. Whitney. J.C. Whitney has survived. And I think they're still out there.
I think they are.
I think they are.
And
they've obviously come a long way, and we don't want to make too much fun
No,
of them. Because
it actually made my
service.
imagination work, because there
Yes.
was one for motorcycles, and my cousins had bikes, and there were all the cool bell tip exhausts and the chrome parts and pieces, and
Which is incredibly cheesy today, but back then
it was
cool.
so cool. And so that really at the same time with model kits and Hot Wheels cars and all of that was just a witch's brew of, you might as well just have injected Cam 2 into my veins, and it's downhill from there. But that was, so the first print that affected me was the J.C. Whitney catalog.
That's very
put in your funny comments here. Your cars look like it, huh? Yeah, I got it.
You used to add up the percentages. They say if you do this air intake, you get 20%.
Right.
I mean, you get like
500%.
7,000%.
Yeah.
It's like you never. But
And it never kind of worked out, did it?
But you used to read that. I used to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to have friends of mine who like cars. Well, how much horsepower could you make with this? And I'd go into the J.C. Whitney and go, like, about 700. 700 power.
About
horsepower.
1 million horsepower.
That's right, exactly. With nothing but stickers and an air intake.
Yep.
But
Stickers.
With 20 horsepower right
You
there,
bet.
boy.
You bet.
So that was a big impact
Yeah,
for me.
that's a good
And
point.
then I remember going to my town had a pharmacy, and that's about it. So I'd go there with my mom, and they had a little magazine rack, and my mom would be doing whatever she's doing, and I'd boogie over to there, and they'd have
Pick out.
they'd have Truckin', and they had Hot Rod, and they had a couple, and so I was. My first, magazines I'm looking at that really impacted me was really cool custom vans, and then really cool street machines and
So
hot rodders.
that was the van period.
Oh,
then.
and I love me some flares and some side pipes,
because that was
some bubble windows. Hell yeah!
That's the
yeah,
difference
you
in
bet.
age, because I was a Hot Rod reader, and then when Hot Rod decided to do vans, oh my God, it was a kiss of death.
What was that whole era?
Oh, it was
That
awful. It was about
like
4 or 5
disco,
years.
right?
It-
Was it
Yeah.
Yes,
same-
it
about
was
the same
vans
time?
and
Yeah.
disco all at the same time, and it was like, to this day, it's like I just as soon avoid that or just forget about.
You know
the whole
what
time
I just
period.
got? I have it sitting. I left it at my desk. I got it this afternoon. I just got from eBay the complete collectible, they're not baseball card, collector cards of the Truckin' Magazine custom van and custom pickup set from, I think it's like 1978 or something.
Wow.
And I remember at them, and Kelly, the guy that works for me, has one of them, and it keeps mocking me when I kept walking by and looking at it. So like a week ago, I went in Truckin' Magazine collector set, and sure enough, there it was for $39, the whole set. And eBay, I'm like, buy it, and it came in today, and I'm like, Kelly, come up here and look at this.
All right, we'd like to thank our advertiser, Alden American. They've been around for 40 years doing coilover shock conversions for muscle cars, and they do a pretty good job, Steve.
Do an awesome job. And interesting enough, first time I came to California, I met Frank Aldana, who's the guy who created the Alden shock and a kind of a staple in the drag racing community. So I know they've been doing amazing stuff for a very long time.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. They make shock absorbers, coilovers, and suspension kits for thousands of applications. You pick out your specific year and model, and they probably have a system for it. They design and test them in the USA. It's all American-made, racing, street performance, and vehicle-specific applications across the board. And also they hang their hat on the fact that they're bolt and go. There aren't a lot of modifications that have to happen. You buy them, you put them on, you go down the road. So
So check them out at Alden American and see what they've got.
The website?
Yeah.
AldenAmerican.com.
aldenamerican.com.
That too.
And you can use promo code CarGuy10 to get 10% off your order at aldenamerican.com.
And with ARP, it's not just a lot of intake manifolds, studs for heads, but they also have a humongous selection of American and metric that we use all throughout the car, even large bolts that we use on the suspension components, because you want that same strength, that same durability and reliability, plus the beautiful looks.
And the stuff outside the catalog.
Right. They have a special order program where if you're a builder and you need some special stuff made, they can do that for you. So it's an amazing, amazing company to work with.
So check them out at arp-bolts.com or check out their catalog. You'll find everything you're looking for. He won't let it go. But it's just neat stuff. It's
Yeah.
the history.
It
if
is.
you look at the original hot rod, though, it's not very good.
No, it isn't.
There's even like a little piece of fiction in there.
Yes.
Which
yes.
has almost nothing to
valid.
do with cars.
It's
really kind of strange.
I have some dumpster dive stories.
Do you?
Two that are luckily they're one came to an okay end, and the other one not so good.
Were you arrested?
Cartoons.
Was there
Cartoons.
when they killed
private
cartoons?
plane?
Over at the 7750.
Dennis Ellison.
Yes, at the 7750 building.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put blame on this deal, but they were in the basement and they had original artwork as high as up here.
I mean, stacked like 69.
Of original artwork
from the cartoons.
And I grabbed probably 30 or 40. I've since given them back because I had, it's like, they should have them back.
Yeah.
But I know that
If they appreciate
I would
it.
say 90% of it went away.
With trash. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
just gone.
Well, that's a little bit like
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera, or all those
Right.
things, the cells that they
Right.
did,
Yeah.
just threw them out because they were done with it, right?
They used to slide on them in the hallways. They literally did. It was like a slip
now
and slide.
they're priceless.
Yes.
They're priceless because
Yes.
they were thrown away, so there's not that many of them left.
Right.
But yeah.
My
No,
save story is that when I was at Popular Hot Rodding, the guys that did all the photography, his name was Greg, was told to clean out the archive. And now at Peterson, all the contact sheets, which are photographs of the original negatives, are logged and kept. And
one sheet of
ordered.
paper like this would have
Yeah.
an entire roll of 35
Right, probably.
millimeter
Yeah,
film.
they're
on
the
it.
36 or
Right.
if it was large format, maybe 12.
2 1/4 for the 12s.
Right,
Yeah.
2 1/4, right.
Yeah.
Van Toon and Van, who worked with me there, we saved all of the muscle car stuff.
Really?
I still have it
Wow.
because nobody's ever said, "Hey, I need it," but I've got it. I mean, and it's all negs and contact sheets of all the original cars back.
Well, now that you put that out there,
That's right. There you go. I have.
someone will be calling you tomorrow.
That's right. I have the
Well, let's
original
hope they
Cobra
do.
stuff.
Well, yes.
Because
Yeah.
that means it will be saved. That's
Yes.
what's important. Is
I
the
have.
fact that
I
it's
saw
been
it.
saved.
I saw it the other day. But I've got. original Cobra factory photos that Shelby had never seen.
Yeah.
I showed them to Shelby, and he said, "Give me some prints." So I did some prints for him, and a bunch of other folks. I gave one to Peter McGillivray and Chris Horn. I mean, we printed them up, but they're all saved, and they're dry, and they're okay.
That's
so.
good.
But
That's good.
nobody has ever said anything. I probably would have given them to Thomas.
So
but,
we were
hey,
talking earlier about what magazine makes an impression on you as a youngster. It's like, well, what do you think is happening now electronically? Because we were talking earlier about the fact that
I don't know
nobody,
how it can, because kids or people, you look at 10 million things a day. Nothing's
gonna
special.
stand out at you.
Nothing's, and that's it. To bounce onto that as a builder. I had heard Troy, please call me and yell at me. Rad Rides. I had heard, and if there's truth to this, I give him 2 thumbs, 5 stars. Yeah. It was talking about being an online feature for one of his top cars being built, and he goes, "No, why bother?"
Yeah.
Or he wasn't as flippant, but it's like,
Right.
It's not
Because it's
special.
not
I'm one
special.
of 10 million things put up on the internet today. Who
Right,
cares?
right, yeah.
When you're in a magazine,
You're on the cover.
You're one of 2 or 3
Yeah.
in that month,
Right.
and for the year you're one
Because
of
guys would
30
kill
ever.
for that.
Right,
Kill
kill
for
for it.
that.
Now it's like, and I agree with him. Now, I want to be really, really careful.
Right.
I am always thankful when there's press and media
Of any
and
kind,
marketing
sure,
of
any
anything
kind of
to do for my
attention.
company.
Sure, exactly.
And for my customers.
Right.
I am thankful. And it does reach a huge medium. There's a give and take here.
Yeah.
But that feel-good specialness
Isn't there?
does not happen unless it's a book or a magazine and it's a limited amount of what have you. And so I parallel his thought on that.
Oh,
It's like not big deal because that sounds like you're just blowing it off.
Flip it, right.
But it isn't as special
right.
as a cover of a print or something that's I don't know how to put it into words.
Yeah. So do you think that it's special that we need to continue this? I mean, that's, magazines.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Well, because of business reasons, we already know that there are certain operations that see no value to certainly a print magazine, and I think they question the fact that there's even an audience for them because obviously, January of 2020, that's when it happened. That they shut down all those magazines,
right?
And there's nothing there. And when you have Hot Rod Magazine with one editor, when you and I were there were 7, 8, 9 people.
13 people.
Yeah, so you've got all this
together with the
so how
production
can you possibly? And the guy who does it is awesome.
So
John
I'm going
McGann
to say
is
this
great.
because I can't get in trouble.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I just thought about that. I'm going to say it anyway.
Right.
So as far as I know, a group of the books that got let go from that particular company were making money and had paying advertisers in them.
Absolutely.
Stay with me on this, both of you. So let's say you're in the place of John McGann, because we can all say John McGann is the current editor of Hot Rod. Go John. He rules. He's doing a great job keeping that
By himself.
He's running an aircraft carrier
By
with the
himself.
crew of a dinghy. Did I say dinghy? I got to say that today. Anyway, so
Flaccid.
yes, Scad's better. So here am I. I've been involved in this industry pretty seriously for 20 years now, and I'm like going. For one, I don't believe what was being handed down about this self-fulfilling prophecy of print is dead. No, print's dead by you because you don't want to babysit it anymore because you want to be digital and everything else. And all the higher epsilon at Discovery, I have no apologies for what I'm about to say. I think you bought something you could care less about, and you made it very, very clear that you were going to eliminate print and that you hated it. You didn't want to babysit it. You didn't want to deal with it.
It's too difficult.
So
It's
you
not something they know.
you spread this inside your structure rumor that, as far as I'm concerned, that print is dead. Since you've gotten rid of those books, worldwide, there's a whole bunch of new stuff that have started, and they took all your paying advertisers.
Right,
Now,
right.
being said, Hot Rod, when it was at its glory, covered everything. Your aforementioned vans,
Right.
but they did boats, they did motorcycles, they did everything.
Off-road racing,
so when
stock
that was
car
going
racing.
down, I called up John and said, "Oh my gosh, dude, you know what's going to happen now? All the advertisers from Street Rodder, which is getting let go, you can now cover 32 Fords and bitchin' street rods in the book, and it'll be legit because Hot Rod used to.
Sure.
You're going to have more money in your advertising account than you know what to do with, because I'm friends with the guys that own those companies, and they don't have an anti-print problem.
Right.
Because they're currently advertising in Street Rodder and in Super Chevy and in da-da-da in da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. So now Hot Rod can have everything. Your book should be going triple the size it is just by default.
But it didn't.
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
And he doesn't know why. And I point the question. Go ahead. You can type in
I think
executives at Discovery. Email me.
I think it's a malaise.
Yeah, I don't care what excuse you're going to hand me. There were paying advertisers that you could have grabbed and put into Hot Rod, and you did not.
Didn't do it. Yeah.
And last I checked, you'd like to make money. So
and you know
there
what the
must be
best part about
something
this
else
is?
going on.
It's like, why is he so passionate? Why is
Well,
he so passionate
am
about
I
it?
passionate?
And as are we about print, but it's really more than that. It's really more about cars because it's our lifestyle. It's what we do. We
There
don't.
it is.
If you take, I've been to parties where you're at a social engagement, let's say, where I'm in with the people that I don't really know, and they're not car people, and it's just boring as hell.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, Will Hansel, told me this great story. He's with a similar party with his wife, and they're talking, and so he's just making pleasantness with this guy, and so he's asked this question. He said, "So what are you passionate about?" Because Will's telling him, "I'm all about cars, and it's this intrinsic thing," and he works at GM now, And he says, so what are you passionate about? And the guy said, he's thinking.
Yeah.
And he's thinking. And he finally says, Seinfeld.
Oh,
And I
that's
went,
a big one, huh?
and when he told me that, it's like, I feel sorry for that guy, right? You know, there's no passion for any of that stuff. So when we used to, so when we used to get letters from readers that were just livid, I mean, you could feel the negative stuff come out of this page, and they're just, and at first I would think, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then I realized it. It's because they're passionate about what we're doing.
Right.
And they're so passionate that you missed this. How could you be so stupid?
Right.
And when
Because
you
they had it. It was theirs.
it was theirs.
The whole thing was theirs.
Yes. And so hopefully out of all of this comes a new place.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's called Wheel Hub.
Okay. All right. Well, whatever it
Hub,
is,
yes.
there are several
It
titles
goes
out
Stephen
there.
Kim also.
Yeah. I mean, many of our friends
An
have
ex-hot
started,
rodder.
you know,
Hot
Modern
Rod
Rodding.
magazine
You know, Brian
alumni.
Brennan's new book, Modern
Yep,
Rodding,
Brennan's new-
and
yep.
and
Amen.
and all Chevrolet Performance, all Chevy with
Mm-hmm.
Nick Licata. I mean, because I'm working for those guys, so you know, I want to
Plug. No.
absolutely,
Plug 'em.
yeah, absolutely.
We like
There
'em
they
too.
are.
We
Well,
like
they're
'em
my
all.
friends.
You bet.
And
By
but-
the way,
but
you
they
can find
they took
ARP
that-
products in all of those magazines. By the way.
So, but the point is, they were passionate enough
Yes.
to take the risk to create this
Yes.
thing and make it work. And so, God
it's the
bless them,
same
because
kind of thing as Peterson.
where would we be without? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Peterson
Same deal,
started
yeah.
it off.
Well, here's
you
an
know,
interesting spin. So you got I've been in these conversations
Mm-hmm.
with execs in different stuff, and they're like, well, the problem is the graybeards. You know, they're going to be dying off.
guys like us.
And the guys who are smarter than me keep telling me to suck my face closer to this microphone.
Yep.
I just don't want to like boom
Tell-
into
tell
it.
me a
My
story,
God.
Dad.
That's it.
That's it.
They're all going.
They have flashlights.
So
like the guys who direct the air.
Yes. There's the,
right, just come on, just guide Steve. Yeah, here's the funny thing. I can't see out of my right eye. They're over there going, "Holy building's on fire!" And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I can't see you guys. Damn it! Yeah, just walk her. You know,
really
it'd be better if you just throw a spitball at my head. That'd be great. Oh, the microphone. Yeah. Okay. So
Where were we?
we were. Who knows? I don't know. So the discussion that the guys that are into the hobby, they're older. They don't bother with the internet.
And they're
you
not-
know,
they're not spending
and
the
they're not-
money.
and the younger
They're technically
generation
not challenged.
Right.
Or
So
they're
here's what I hear. The younger generation, the people who are hip in the know, and the
people with
they're
disposable
going to be
income.
reading their magazines online. And in the same thing, it's like, how do we get the younger kids? Because they're not involved with cars at all. Okay, did you just say the people who are going to bother going online to read your new online magazine don't bother with cars, so they're not going to be looking at your online magazine? So if I was a betting man, I'd keep printing to the people who are at least still
Yes.
interested in cars.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
some young kid
I'm
finally
gonna get so
stumbles
much hate mail. I am
stumbles
gonna
onto
get so
something
much
quite by
shit.
accident, and he realizes, hey, this is cool. You know, so part of the answer to this, I think, is for us to encourage young guys to, and so that was that piece we did earlier about, you know, don't hate those guys because they
No.
want to do something different.
Right.
Just encourage them, because
Agreed.
without it, you know, we're not, you know.
That's right. Have you looked at Motor Trend Channel? I look at it every so often.
Occasionally, I'll go on
Okay, I got 2 words for you. Flippin' bangers. Do you know what that is?
No.
That is a TV show on Motor Trend Channel.
Oh, I have seen the title. I haven't seen the
Well,
show.
there's
Is it?
there's-
Oh, those
there's-
English guys?
What's a flipping banger?
the
there's
two-
Wheeler Dealers.
Not
which has
that.
been
But
around,
the flipping bangers
which
is the guy with the mutton chops.
Yes,
I have seen that.
building.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, 68 Cortinas.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's cool.
seriously?
I can dig
English
a
cars.
Cortina.
No,
Yeah,
these
it's
these
cool.
are
And
these
and
are
they
rancid
go
cars. These are
aggressively after the nasty stuff and then try and fix them up.
They do,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
is this the audience? I mean, I understand that because I know a
Mm-hmm.
little background on the deal with Wheeler Dealers, and there's a very large English contingent.
Sure.
But
Well, it
if you're
started off in
showing-
England.
But if you're showing, this is on. I mean, this is American television from my standpoint, and this is. I mean,
Mm-hmm. It's
Motor
hard to
Trend.
relate to an English car.
Motor Trend
right?
is an American built magazine. Doesn't mean it doesn't appeal to a lot of folks,
Mm-hmm.
but flipping bangers. I mean, is it English? What is that? I mean, it sounds like sausage. It's like what the heck?
You have an issue. I think.
What the heck?
We have a reoccurring theme that I'm
That's right.
getting concerned about. Actually, I just want to touch base on that.
But yeah, flipping bangers. So you've actually seen that?
I have seen it.
I use it as a nightlight.
Wow.
I've told you that story about when I was in college. I was walking to class, and I'm wearing my Conoco uniform because I'm working at a gas station, and my psychology instructor walks up alongside me and says, I've noticed that you dress differently than the rest of the kids in the class. And I went, yeah, Daddy's not paying for my schooling. And he goes, so what do you do? I work at this gas station. He says, you pump gas? I said, no, I do tune-ups and brakes and muffler work and, everything, And he goes, oh, so you're a mechanic? I said, yeah. He says, that's a very immediate gratification occupation. And I was like, it is, right? Because you think, yeah. I mean, it comes in broken and it goes out fixed. And it's like, yeah. So
like a doctor,
and there's a lot of self-satisfaction to that.
Yeah.
So it's just all about an immediate gratification, and like the birds swing, and the sun came out, and the birds were singing, and everything was wonderful.
Well, it's like
immediate
this
gratification,
like this podcast.
Yes,
immediate gratification, and just
that's what you were thinking to yourself.
That's right.
Hey, what? Wake up!
So
there you go.
They're like, are they still talking? That's
it.
Is this over yet?
It is.
It is.
My chai latte is getting cold.
Yes. Okay, we got to move on. So, thank you for viewing, and till next time, thanks for showing up.